Life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully we plan, how much we prepare, or how much we try to control things, there will always be moments that shake us to our core. Moments that test our patience, our strength, and even our will to keep going. But being unbroken doesn't mean never facing hardship. It means standing tall despite it. It means refusing to let circumstances define who we are. There's a famous story about a man who was stranded at sea for weeks, with no food, no water, and no hope of rescue. Every day the sun burned his skin, the waves tossed his fragile raft, and the hunger gnawed at his body. But what kept him alive wasn't just his survival skills, it was his mindset. He refused to believe this was how his story would end. He stayed unbroken mentally and emotionally, even when his body was weak. Eventually he was rescued, but the real victory wasn't just surviving, it was never giving up on himself. Life does this to all of us in different ways. Sometimes it's the loss of a dream. Sometimes it's rejection from someone we love. Sometimes it's failure that makes us question if we're good enough. And in those moments, it feels easier to give up, to let the pain shape us into something smaller, something weaker. But being unbroken means understanding that pain is not the enemy. It's the process. It's the fire that forges resilience. We all have scars, whether they are visible or hidden. Some of us carry the weight of past mistakes. Some of us bear the pain of betrayal. And some of us struggle with fears that no one else can see. But our scars don't make us weak. They are proof that we have endured, that we have faced battles and survived. The true measure of strength isn't how much we avoid struggle, but how we rise each time we fall. Think about the strongest people in history, leaders, inventors, visionaries. Every one of them faced opposition, failure, and moments where the world tried to break them. But they chose to be unbroken. They chose to keep moving forward. And that's what separates those who fade away from those who leave a mark. No matter where you are in life, no matter what you're facing, remember this. You are stronger than you think. You are capable of more than you believe. You are unbroken, not because life has been easy, but because you refuse to let it break you. There comes a time in life when everything feels like it's falling apart. The plans we made don't work out. The people we trust let us down, and the path ahead seems unclear. In those moments, it's easy to feel powerless, like the world is pushing us down with no way to fight back. But if there's one truth that stands above all, it's this: challenges don't break us. Our response to them does. Think about a storm. When the winds are strong, weak trees snap, but the strong ones bend and sway, adapting to the force of the wind. Life is no different. We are all hit by storms, loss, failure, rejection. But the difference between those who stay standing and those who fall is not luck or talent. It's resilience. It's a decision to get back up even when everything inside us wants to give up. Imagine a young athlete training for years, pushing themselves to the limit, only to suffer an injury right before their biggest competition. They could surrender to disappointment, blame fate, and walk away. But those who refuse to be broken see setbacks differently. They see them as a test, a chance to prove how much they truly want something. They focus not on what they've lost, but on how they can rise again, stronger. The truth is, we don't get to choose what happens to us, but we always get to choose how we react. Some people face hardships and become bitter, while others face the same struggles and become stronger. The difference isn't in the difficulty, it's in the mindset. Every challenge is an opportunity, whether we see it that way or not. We often think that those who succeed in life had it easy, that they were just lucky. But behind every success story is a series of failures that no one talks about. The author whose first 10 books were rejected. The entrepreneur who lost everything before building. The student who was told they weren't smart enough but kept studying until they proved everyone wrong. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about refusing to let failure define you. The pain of falling is temporary, but the regret of giving up lasts forever. Life will test you, but every test is a chance to grow. And if you can find the strength to stand back up, to face the next challenge with courage, you'll realize that no matter how hard things get, you are, at your core, unbroken. Every challenge we face in life begins in the same place, our mind. It's not just the situation that matters, but how we think about it. Two people can go through the exact same hardship, but one rises while the other stays stuck. Why? Because the difference isn't in what happens to them, it's in how they see it. The power of mindset determines whether we remain broken or emerge stronger than before. Think about a mountain climber standing at the base of a peak. The journey ahead looks impossible. Steep cliffs, unpredictable weather, exhaustion waiting at every step. One person might see this and say, "It's too much. I can't do it." Another might look at the same mountain and say, "This will test me, but I'm ready." The mountain doesn't change, but the mindset does. And that makes all the difference. When we go through pain, it's easy to believe the voice that says, "This is the end, you can't handle this." But that voice is a liar. It feeds on doubt, fear, and past failures. And if we listen to it, we stay stuck. The strongest people in the world aren't those who never hear that voice. It's those who hear it and refuse to believe it. They push forward even when doubt whispers in their ears, because they know that pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. Think about Thomas Edison. People love to talk about how he invented the light bulb, but they don't talk enough about the thousands of times he failed. Imagine if after the first 100 failures, he thought, "Maybe I'm not smart enough." Or if after the 500th time, he said, "Maybe this isn't meant for me." But he didn't. He kept going because he had the mindset of someone who was unbroken. Every failure was just another step closer to success. The same is true in our own lives. Maybe you failed in business. Maybe you faced rejection in a relationship. Maybe life keeps knocking you down and you're starting to wonder if it's even worth getting back up. But here's the truth. Failure is not a stop sign. It's a stepping stone. Every setback you face is shaping you into the person you're meant to become. The world is full of people who gave up too soon. People who let their struggles convince them they weren't good enough. But it's also full of people who refuse to accept defeat. People who saw every challenge as a lesson, every failure as a teacher, and every rejection as redirection. They are the ones who rise. Not because life was easy for them, but because they made a choice. A choice to keep going, to believe in themselves, and to never let anything break them. And that is the power of mindset. When you decide that nothing, not failure, not fear, not even your own doubts, can stop you, you become unstoppable. You become unbroken. Every challenge we face in life begins in the same place, our mind. It's not just the situation that matters, but how we think about it. Two people can go through the exact same hardship, but one rises while the other stays stuck. Why? Because the difference isn't in what happens to them. It's in how they see it. The power of mindset determines whether we remain broken or emerge stronger than before. Think about a mountain climber standing at the base of a peak. The journey ahead looks impossible. Steep cliffs, unpredictable weather, exhaustion waiting at every step. One person might see this and say, "It's too much. I can't do it." Another might look at the same mountain and say, "This will test me, but I'm ready." The mountain doesn't change, but the mindset does. And that makes all the difference. When we go through pain, it's easy to believe the voice that says, "This is the end. You can't handle this." But that voice is a liar. It feeds on doubt, fear, and past failures. And if we listen to it, we stay stuck. The strongest people in the world aren't those who never hear that voice. It's those who hear it and refuse to believe it. They push forward even when doubt whispers in their ears because they know that pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. Think about Thomas Edison. People love to talk about how he invented the light bulb, but they don't talk enough about the thousands of times he failed. Imagine if after the first 100 failures, he thought, maybe I'm not smart enough. Or if after the 500th time he said, maybe this isn't meant for me. But he didn't. He kept going because he had the mindset of someone who was unbroken. Every failure was just another step closer to success. The same is true in our own lives. Maybe you failed in business. Maybe you faced rejection in a relationship. Maybe life keeps knocking you down and you're starting to wonder if it's even worth getting back up. But here's the truth. Failure is not a stop sign. It's a stepping stone. Every setback you face is shaping you into the person you're meant to become. The world is full of people who gave up too soon, people who let their struggles convince them they weren't good enough. But it's also full of people who refuse to accept defeat, people who saw every challenge as a lesson, every failure as a teacher, and every rejection as redirection. They are the ones who rise, not because life was easy for them, but because they made a choice to keep going, to believe in themselves, and to never let anything break them. And that is the power of mindset. When you decide that nothing, not failure, not fear, not even your own doubts can stop you, you become unstoppable. You become unbroken. Failure is one of the hardest things to experience. It feels like a weight pressing down, a reminder that we weren't good enough, fast enough, or strong enough. And yet failure is also one of the greatest teachers in life. The problem isn't failing. The problem is how we see it. Most people treat failure as the end of the road, when in reality, it's just a stepping stone to something greater. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall hundreds of times before they take their first steady step, but they don't sit down and decide, maybe walking isn't for me. They keep trying, keep pushing, because failure isn't something they fear. It's just part of the process. Somewhere along the way, as we grow older, we start to believe that falling means we're not capable. But the truth is, failing is proof that we're moving, that we're learning, that we're growing. Take the story of Walt Disney. Before he built his empire, he was fired from a job because his boss told him he lacked imagination. His first business went bankrupt. If he had accepted those failures as proof that he wasn't good enough, the world would never have known Mickey Mouse, Disneyland, or the stories that shaped childhoods across generations. Or look at Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. In high school, he was cut from his team. Imagine if he had taken that rejection as a sign that basketball wasn't for him. But instead of quitting, he trained harder, worked longer, and became a legend. He once said, "I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." The most successful people in history didn't avoid failure, they embraced it. They understood that every setback carries a lesson, that every loss is an opportunity to come back stronger. And the same applies to all of us. The rejection letter, the failed exam, the broken relationship, none of these define you. What defines you is what you do next. There will always be moments when life tests you, moments when you feel like giving up, when you wonder if you have what it takes. But if you can shift your mindset, if you can see failure not as an end, but as a new beginning, then nothing can truly break you. You'll realize that setbacks are not stop signs. They are signals pushing you towards something better. So the next time you fail, don't fear it. Learn from it. Grow from it. And most importantly, keep going. Because as long as you do, you remain unbroken. There's a moment in everyone's life when they have to make a choice. Stay where they are, stuck in fear and hesitation, or take a step forward into the unknown. Growth never happens in comfort. The strongest, most resilient people in the world didn't get there by playing it safe. They got there by pushing through fear, by challenging themselves, by stepping beyond what they thought was possible. Think about a seed buried deep in the ground. At first, it's in darkness, surrounded by pressure. But instead of staying there, it begins to push upward, breaking through the soil, reaching for the sunlight. That struggle is what makes it strong. If the seed never pushed, never struggled, it would never grow into the tree it was meant to be. Life works the same way. Every challenge, every hardship, every uncomfortable situation is a chance to grow. The question is, do we embrace it or run from it? Too often, people choose comfort. They stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, situations that limit them because it's familiar, because stepping out into the unknown is scary. But nothing great ever comes from staying in the same place. Growth requires risk. It requires the courage to face discomfort, to fail, to learn, and to try again. Look at people who have changed the world. They didn't do it by staying comfortable. Elon Musk didn't build Tesla and SpaceX by playing it safe. He took risks, faced criticism, and kept pushing forward. Oprah Winfrey didn't become one of the most influential women in the world by sticking to what was easy. She challenged herself, overcame rejection, and kept growing. Every person who has ever achieved something great did so because they embraced discomfort and used it as fuel for growth. Even in our personal lives, the same rule applies. The first time you step into a gym, it's hard. Your muscles ache, your body resists, and you feel like giving up. But if you keep showing up, if you push through the discomfort, you become stronger. The same goes for learning a new skill, speaking up for yourself, or taking a chance on something new. Growth is uncomfortable, but that discomfort is a sign that you're becoming more than you were before. So the next time life puts you in an uncomfortable situation, don't resist it. Embrace it. See it as proof that you are evolving, because the only way to truly be unbroken is to keep growing, keep pushing, and never settle for less than what you are capable of becoming. Every person's journey is unique, but there is one thing we all have in common. We are never truly alone. No matter how independent we are, no matter how strong we try to be, life is not meant to be faced alone. The connections we build, the relationships we nurture, and the support we give and receive shape our ability to rise above challenges. Strength isn't just about standing alone. It's also about knowing when to lean on others. Think about the strongest structures in the world. A single pillar may be sturdy, but it cannot hold up an entire building by itself. It needs support, connection, and reinforcement. People are the same. Those who achieve the greatest things in life don't do it alone. They surround themselves with the right people. Mentors who guide them, friends who uplift them, and family who remind them of who they are when they start to forget. There's a false belief that asking for help is a sign of weakness. In reality, it's one of the greatest signs of strength. It takes courage to admit that you don't have all the answers, that you need guidance, that you need someone to stand by your side. Even the most successful people in history had others helping them along the way. Steve Jobs had a team that shared his vision. Martin Luther King Jr. had a movement that stood beside him. And every great athlete has a coach pushing them to be their best. At some point in life, we all face moments where we feel lost, when the weight of everything becomes too much, when the struggles seem endless, when we begin to question whether we can keep going. In those moments, the right people make all the difference. A simple conversation with a friend, a word of encouragement from a mentor, or the silent presence of someone who believes in us can be enough to remind us of our strength. But support is not just about receiving. It's also about giving. Just as we need others, others need us. The kindness we show, the help we offer, the moments when we choose to stand by someone else can be the very thing that keeps them from falling. And in lifting others, we also lift ourselves. No one is unbreakable on their own. We become unbroken by standing together, by sharing our struggles, by lifting each other up. Because when we have the right people beside us, no challenge is too great, no failure is too final, and no storm is strong enough to bring us down. There comes a moment in life when we must make a decision. Do we let the past define us, or do we take control and shape our own future? The truth is, no matter how much we have struggled, no matter how many times we have fallen, we always have the power to start again. The past may have left scars, but it does not have to dictate where we go next. What truly matters is the choice we make today. Think about a river. It doesn't stop flowing because it encounters rocks or obstacles in its path. It finds a way around them, carving new paths, adapting and continuing forward. Life works the same way. Challenges, failures, and heartbreaks will come, but they do not mean the journey is over. They are simply moments. Temporary, not permanent. What is permanent is the strength within us to keep moving forward. Too often, people hold on to past mistakes, regrets, and pain. They let their failures define them, replaying them in their minds over and over. But imagine if the greatest achievers in history had done that. If Einstein had let his childhood struggles with learning stop him from pursuing science. If Abraham Lincoln had allowed his multiple election losses to convince him he wasn't meant for leadership, if any of the people who have inspired us had given up after failure, we wouldn't know their names today. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't that one group never failed. It's that one group refused to stay down. They made a decision to rise, to learn, and to keep going. And that same power exists in each of us. Every single day is an opportunity to start fresh. It doesn't matter how many times we've been knocked down before. It doesn't matter how many times we've failed. What matters is that we stand up one more time and take that next step. Forgiveness plays a role in this as well. Not just forgiving others, but forgiving ourselves. We are often our own harshest critics, punishing ourselves for mistakes, for bad decisions, for not being perfect. But growth is never about perfection, it's about progress. The past was a lesson, not a life sentence. The moment we decide to let go of guilt and regret, we free ourselves to build something better. Resilience is not about never falling. It's about rising every time we do. And in the end, that is what makes us unbroken.